Unbelievable. We're living in a little mini dictatorship here. Hartford, Connecticut. Cameron, you're up on the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Good day, Savage. I'd like to ask you not to shrink from this senatorial race.
Not to shrink from. I'm not in it, though. What do you mean shrink from?
Well, shrinking from the idea. You just threw it out there, and I'd like to ask you to put your courage where your mouth is and take this up. You can't lose. Okay?
Well, see, the problem is this. I'd be running up against Barbara Boxer in the state of California. She has the entire Obama machine behind her. That's all the money in the world that they need. That's over $100 million if they need it. There's unlimited money for her. So where would I get $100 million or even $50 million to run against her?
It's a new day, Savage. It's not just a matter of money anymore. In other words, you would have passionate support that would do the things that are necessary for you to win. Number one, secure the voting machines. In other words, one man, one vote has been killed in our country. It started in 1960.
That's correct, and I would block illegal aliens from voting booths. I'd send out my army of savage listeners to make sure that no illegal aliens vote in the election. I don't see how Boxer could win if she actually had to have registered voters voting.
Yeah, but hear me out. The day the voting died was the 1960 election when Kennedy lost fair and square to Nixon, and Kennedy's father, Joe, picked up the phone to Brookline, Mass., and called the then governor of Chicago, Dick Daley, and said, Dick, my kid lost unless you can write down 700,000 votes and swing the election, swing Illinois to Kennedy, and therefore the election. And that's how it happened. And Nixon was a patriot, and he wouldn't put his country through the fight about that vote fraud. So now you had an election stolen by Obama. The Acorns and 325 of their allies in that alliance stole that election. Obama got nowhere near the votes that they said he got. And if you can secure the voting machines, and if your supporters will make sure that the Black Panthers don't show up in Philadelphia, figuratively speaking now, and I don't know why you want to pick, if you have to pick California, why don't you do what Hillary Clinton did? Pick a weak, vulnerable state.
Well, now you're talking about reality here. I'd have to move to something like North Dakota, South Dakota, and run in a state like that. California is a very tough state for me to run in and win if I ever really wanted to do this.
You have to prove you're a patriot. We know you're a patriot. To select a different state would be a
yeah, but okay. So Al Franken moved to Minnesota a year before he ran, even though he'd been living in New York, and he had originally come from there, but he wasn't anymore really a Minnesotan.
Well, that's a smart thing. We got to catch up with these liberal leftists on their brains. In other words,
all right. So let's run a theory, a fantasy on the Savage Nation. Which states are vulnerable to a savage move and run? It would have to be a small state. It would have to be a state that is not a border state filled with illegal aliens. It would have to be one of the Midwestern states or northern states. So which state would that be where there's not a Republican right now?
What do I look like, a genius? There are many states you can pick. Look at the state of Rhode Island where there are...
I don't know what you look like. You say, what do I look like, a genius? I don't know. Well, anyway, I'm years of wonderful radio, 15 years of bringing you information that I think is important and humor and this and that. But, what good is all of it if we have these radical leftists running the country off the rails? What good is it if we have a national security policy czar who was skiing during the Christmas Day would-be bombing? What good is it if the FBI and CIA agents who have the guts to do their job are looking over their shoulder now at Eric Holder, who may try them for war crimes if they actually arrest someone before they kill? What good is it all? So, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Len, welcome. You're on the Savage Nation.
How are you, Doctor? I appreciate your interest in running for the Senate. However, I've got a little nervousness around all of. I consider myself a Republican. I consider myself conservative, but the fact that the conservative movement, the Tea Party movement, may have the effect of splitting the Republican vote and pretty much gliding these Democrats back into office at the end of this year. I think what we need, specifically from people like you in the radio forum, in the open conservative movement, we need direction, especially for the younger voters like myself. as to who are the people that could honestly win for the conservatives.
Oh, let's focus on John McCain. He's a fake conservative. He deserves to be retired. J.D. Hayworth should beat him in Arizona. That should send a strong message to the dolts in the Republican Party who have bolted from conservative values. I mean, that's a starter, isn't it?
What I'm getting at is we need you more now than ever. You're talking about going to run for the Senate and stymieing yourself in that quagmire. I'm saying we need you right now to put together your best plan for this vote, right? What you think would be the best conservative vote, whether they be Democrat, Republican, or Independent, and we need to put that effort together into a consensus. I think Newt Gingrich said the other night on Hannity, basically we need a consensed team, a consensed right wing, right? And right now, all we have...
Well, Newt Gingrich, to me, is the Go Pack tick. I don't believe a word that man says. He is the establishment. He is the Beltway. He is K Street. He's exactly the problem with the Republican Party. Newt Gingrich is the man who has to be thrown out, not taken in. I don't know how you could still believe in him.
I wouldn't vote for him, but I think his point was that in order to take the Senate and House back and get us into some level of conservative recovery, right, and maybe start to rewrite some of these laws, we just need the right people in the offices and in the...
All right, so what do you recommend? You're saying that true conservatives shouldn't run because they'd split the ticket. That doesn't make any sense, because then we'd have the same old. The Republicans would be back in power doing exactly what they did when Bush was in power, which is running the country into a deficit.
All I'm saying is if you're going to run, we need more guys like you, and we need to know that list, because that's the folks that I'm...
Well, here's the problem, Len. You see office. And I want to run in the Republican primary against another Republican in order to face off against Barbara Boxer. I'm picking the state of California because that's where I live. Okay. The Republicans would immediately bar me from the primary, would they not?
Probably.
Right. No, so that would then I'd have to run as an independent. So they'd be the ones splitting the vote, not me.
Yeah, that's the problem. The establishment does split the vote, and all I'm saying is not...
That's right. So they would rather see a Republican Party hack run and lose than see Michael Savage run as a Republican and win, because they can't control me. The last thing they want is a free agent as a Republican. They want somebody that they own lock, stock, and barrel. That's the way politics works, and that's why I've always avoided it. I mean, I'm a natural politician. And, of course, that's why I've risen to the heights that I have as a broadcaster. But, being a politician is a little different than being a broadcaster, in that you have to trade things off to get what you want. I'm not a very good compromiser.
Yeah. No, it's hard. You shouldn't have to be, and that's the point. And that's what they force you to be. And, if you want to come to Michigan, we'd love to vote for you here.
Yeah, I think I'll move to Detroit and start all over again in a cold water flat. Anyway, Len, thanks for listening. As I say, I am laying awake nights saying if we don't save the country now in 2010, you may as well kiss it goodbye. I don't mean it'll disappear. It's not going to disappear. We will become something like Spain or Portugal is what we will become. Just another middle-of-the-road socialist nation. And that's something that I don't really want to see happen in this country. And now let's talk about age for a minute. Can I level with you? Because I think many of you know my age. I'm not old. In fact, I feel younger inside than I did 20 years ago. Somehow, I have more strength than I did 20 years ago, even 30 years ago. Ronald Reagan became president at 72, did he not, Beowulf? 68? Well, thank you very much. 68 today is 48 of 25, 30 years ago. Or so. So, the age is not an impediment. I think that there's a lot of advantages to being a little bit older. So I don't know. These thoughts are going through my mind for the first time, really, really going through my mind. I've never really toyed with it to the extent that I am doing so now. I don't want to make this the whole show, but frankly, I would like to discuss this over the next few weeks with many of my listeners and ask you, which state do you think would be most amenable and the most vulnerable to a savage attack? To be very honest. I mean, let's be honest with you. Take a look at the people who've moved into states and run for seats. Hillary Clinton, she was not from New York, so she moved to Chappaquiddick, and she became a New York senator, right? She wasn't from New York, so she bought a house, she lived there, and then she ran. She had to do that. So it is done all the time. And the most recent example is the clown, the absurd clown, whatever his name is, up in Minnesota. I keep Al Franken. I mean, we need some serious conservatives to win. I know that I could probably win. In the state of California, I don't think I could win. Just intuitively running against the Obama machine in California would be very hard. Even though Boxer is despised, even though she's known as being a hack, she'd have over $100 million by blinking an eye. And frankly, if I ran, she'd get even more money because it would be the best thing that ever happened to her. So this is not the state that I would want to choose to run from, to run in a Senate race in. There's got to be another state.